Hi, I'm Brian Loeffler. I'm a physical therapist at On Track, and I'm here to talk about proper running form. When we look at runners running, particularly endurance runners and beginning runners, most commonly we see runners landing on their heel or heel striking. And we have determined that it's a more, or that that's a less efficient means for running. So we're going to talk today about how to improve your running mechanics and try to get away from that heel striking form of running. One of the other things that occurs when you land on your heel is it puts your body into a position that is really kind of counterproductive toward forward locomotion. What I mean by that is that if you can imagine I'm running and I put my foot out in front of me and I land on my heel, my center of gravity is behind that impact point. So what I end up having to do here is I have to expend a lot more energy, not only in having to absorb that increased impact like we talked about before, but also I have to increase the amount of energy I need to put into pushing my body forward over my foot to get to flat foot and then finally pushing off of my foot to move forward. Landing on your heels with your feet out in front of you really kind of acts more as a brake than it does to assist in our ability to move forward. So if I land on my heel, again we've got that increased impact force, and if I was to lift up my back foot from this static position, you would find that I would naturally move backwards, not forward. Okay? So what we recommend as a proper running technique is to land more on the forefoot. A lot of times as we make that recommendation and we see a runner that's been accustomed to running on their heels, we find that they're landing on their forefoot, but they're still making the mistake of running and landing with the foot out in front of them. Even though they're using a better shock absorption by landing on the forefoot, they're still putting their body weight in a position where their center of gravity is behind the impact point and therefore not getting the most out of that forward progress. They're actually having to work against gravity and then let gravity work with them. So it's not just about running on your forefoot. What you actually want to do is try to land with your foot more or less directly underneath you, so that all you need to do to move forward is just lean your body forward to take the next step. This way, what I can focus on is more of the push-off using the strong glute muscles and hamstrings rather than having to use my calf to push me forward over my base of support. If I land with my foot directly under me, I'm already poised into a position where I can take the next step and move forward. That'll allow me to do two things. Again, it will allow me to use gravity to my advantage, so I'm constantly falling forward or moving in a forward motion. It will also allow me to focus on an increased cadence or an increased strides per minute as I'm running, which will also increase efficiency and decrease the effort or workload on the body. An easy test for you to try at home, just to show you the efficiency of landing on the forefoot versus landing on your heels, is to try hopping up and down as if you were jumping rope. If I hop up and down on my toes, I can bounce up and down pretty easily and fairly quickly. What's happening as I do that is every time I land on my forefoot, I'm allowing that large group of muscles in the calf and Achilles tendon to absorb the impact and then return that energy almost as a loaded spring. Now try hopping up and down, but instead of hopping up and down on your forefoot, try hopping up and down just on your heels. And you'll notice that you don't get that same energy return as you do when you hop on your forefoot. So now if I jump up and down on my heels, you can see that there's just a deadening that happens. There's no return of energy. So every time I land on my heel, not only am I increasing the force of impact by doing that, I'm also losing some of the energy of the landing in that impact. When I land on my forefoot, I'm able to load the calf muscles and the Achilles tendon, which can spring back in order to push me forward onto the next step. So that proper running mechanics is landing more on the forefoot, landing with the foot directly underneath you as opposed to out in front of you, and leaning forward slightly to keep a forward momentum as you run.